Nithyananda. With all auspicious blessings and grace of my Guru, Paramahamsa Sri Nithyananda Swamiji, I welcome you into this series again about relations and relationships. All of us across the world look for a perfect relationship. We always seem to be hunting for perfect relationships in the opposite gender or in the same gender, or with our parents, or with our siblings, or with friends. Throughout the world, that seems to be the most common factor for most people. Either they're struggling with their spouses, or with their parents, or with their bosses, or their employees. Relationship as such has become like a platform for war. It's always like who's being better than the other, or who's being nicer than the other, who's being more considerate, or who's doing what. This is whole seems to be the whole theory of relationship all over the world. See, you being better to others, more considerate than the other, should be from the space of wanting to be, from the space of completion, not as a competitive parameter. You can have competition in studies, but how can competition become a parameter for your relationships? With be it movies or these trillion web series that come on the digital world, or the soap operas, or anything that we take today, it's all a vicious cycle of relationships. The whole series or the movies want us to understand that there is a perfect relationship at the end of some rainbow where you have to cross through 7 seas, 7 worlds, 7 planets, 7 universes, and then we land on the perfect relationship. Wow, bang. We are in love with the perfect person, the man of my dream or the woman of my dream, and then the other problems start. Love seems to be more about battle of wits and battle for life itself. Most suicides today, or most violent scenarios that happen outside, incidents that happen outside, if you see, it is, oh, this girl rejected that guy, or this girl told that guy not to follow her, so he got angry, took a knife and stabbed her. Hello, I just happen to have a knife in my hand and I'm just happy, stalker, let me stab you. Or because she said no to him, someone throws acid on women. What kind of a society have we created around us? What kind of a family and a social setup? Someone who will not think twice to throw acid on a person's face, who will not think a second more before stabbing someone. What kind of a relationships he has seen in his life for him or her to respond in that way? Of course, that's not a reason, but we are all the causes for these things. We have somewhere as a society left it an open-ended thing that it's okay to be violent towards another person as long as it's love. Oh, it's okay. He just kidnapped her and married her. Hello? That's how a lot of movies portray. Or the Stockholm syndrome, which is actually more of a terrorist activity, terrorist thinking process, is glorified in movies, glamorized in movies, where the hero kidnaps the heroine for some of his personal agenda, and towards the end of the movie, the heroine falls in love with the hero and all is forgiven, the happy father, the happy parents, and they all get married. Even by a basic common sense and basic sensitivity, I fail to realize or fail to see why a woman who's been violated, violently kidnapped from her safe surroundings would fall for a person who kidnapped her. And vice versa, if you have a panga or whatever vengeance with the parents, why will you take out on the children? What kind of a violent, filled with our thoughts and actions is just reverberating in the society? There is no sensitivity, there is no friendliness, we have even lost the basic courtesies of life. In fact, basic courtesies have become like, oh, age-old culture. I met a person recently who would open my, a man, who would open my door every time I got in, got out, or waited for me to move in or move out, saying, ladies first. Great. That's a nice way to treat a ladies, maybe. Then he adds, oh, this is my age old culture. We are all old people, so this is how we live. Then just imagine opening a door for a lady or waiting for the other person to pass by before we passed. It's not about the gender. We're not even talking about gender specific here. Even being sensitive to the opposite gender is become an age old culture which my parents or grandparents used to follow. But it's no longer relevant in today's society because everybody is like hi bye society. Being sensitive and being friendly. These are the two core, I think very core reason for our existence. If you're neither friendly nor sensitive, what on earth are we living? What on earth are we going to leave behind for our future? How are we going to be remembered by the next generation? We are going to be remembered as the angry old man. Even the angry young man concept series is such a violent propagation of human consciousness. Today, most movies are only two categories, either full of love based, whatever you call it, movies, depressed stories, and the other is the angry young man waiting to take revenge on this terrible society filled with rich, mean guys. Where this so-called victimhood hero has to take revenge on all these people who deprive him and the society of the things that they deserve. Life is not violent. This whole thing starts with the concept of angry God. Please, for God's sake, there is no concept of angry God. How can God be angry? And if God is angry, how can He create the universe? Anybody who's a creator, anybody who's constantly thinking of expansion, who's constantly thinking of more things to do, will not have time to have a vengeful life. I'm sure people who are busy throughout the day thinking what next to do, how to do, what more I can do, will only be busy with creation. And since they always want to create and expand, they will want to have more and more people in their lives, no matter who or what they are or how they are. You must be wondering, oh, this lady is a sannyasi, so she's able to talk all this, it's okay in their world, all this philosophy, idealistic lifestyle, the utopian society that we think is a dreamland, or the Ramarajyam, which we all read in the Ramayana. All this is a dream, a fantasy. Today's world it's not possible. It is possible if every one of us consciously decide to be friendly, no matter who the other person is. Consciously decide to be sensitive to the other person, no matter who or how they respond to us. This is not the same theory as if someone beats you on the right cheek, turn your left cheek. That's a different philosophy. If someone beats me for my belief, my ideology, my dharma, I will beat him back. But if it is out of individualistic anger, individualistic incompletion, then I will not. There's a huge difference between both. Nobody has a right to criticize my belief, my dharma, because that is what I hold the highest, and my guru. My dharma is my guru is my dharma. Anybody who criticizes either one in any which ways, I'm not going to keep quiet. That's a losing attitude. But if it is just out of pettiness, out of jealousy, out of stupid irate incompletions, then it's a different thing. That's a personal thing which I can afford to leave it to the individual to become complete, or I can show the person, the individual, that space of incompletion is not appropriate for them. But don't say anything about my guru, which is my dharma. Then it's a different ball game. If you, like, for example, see Bhagat Singh. He fought for his ideal, which was the country. But even then, he was not left, he was hung. We had heroes who fight for their country. Their country is not a geographical cutout. the country is not just demographical markings. For Bhagat Singh and many such freedom fighters, their country was the Sanatana Dharma. The values which the Sanatana Dharma contributed enormously. That is what their country meant, not as you or I today understand it as a demographical, geographical, political mapping. For the great heroes of valor, for the great freedom fighters, it was only India that represented the Sanatana Dharma. The motherland was vibrations of the Dharma that gave us ahimsa, the Dharma that gave us asteya, the Dharma that gave us satya, the Dharma that gave us brahmacharya, and the Dharma that gave us aparigraha, and the Dharma that gave us the lineage of incarnations and avatars and gurus who constantly guided human beings to their highest levels of consciousness and not to teach them petty fights, petty involvement of politics. If all of us read the Indian history, we will know that the wars in the pre-colonial India, the pre-British India, were fought only on the basis of dharma, not on individualistic establishment of kingdoms. They wanted to spread the dharma, and whoever wanted to align to the dharma were accommodated inside as part of their kingdom. But those who defied the dharma in a violent way were also shown violently why our dharma was better than theirs. Life is so simple. Even relationships is very simple. Learn to be more friendly, more sensitive to the other person. Then you will understand how when you respond to the sensitivity of the other person, friendliness will just radiate from that person over a period of time. It may not happen immediately today, tomorrow, but the more the other person sees, you are just there for them in the space of friendliness, being sensitive to their wants, their space. See, want is not materialistic want alone. Their wants, their needs.